N.E.A.R.P.A.D.
Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, I'll be playing
N.E.A.R.P.A.D.
Now, this is not a new archetype by any means. It's been out for quite some time. For those of you who are not familiar with the terminology, N.E.A.R.P.A.D is basically N.E.A.R.P.A.D with snares and DRTs. So you basically build very much horizontally. Every turn you can expect to install at least one, if not two or even three face down new remotes, which really drains a lot of tempo from the runner as they are forced to check your remotes. If they do not check your remotes after you get at least 5 of them up, they basically cannot contest your remotes at any point thereafter, because there is a chance that they will hit a snare while you res 2 DRTs or even 3 DRTs, which would inflict 7 or even 9 damage total to the runner. So this is a very torturing deck. And it is really horrible because it runs so many assets that you just cannot afford to trash, and you have to trash them, otherwise they'll just bury the N.E.A.P.Ds with daily business shows, get loads of money from P.A.D campaigns, and etc., which is where this deck gets its name from. So there's not much interesting to see on my side of the board. What I really want to focus is on my opponent, who is playing Hayley Kaplan. And this is a very different breed of Hayley, which I absolutely love. I mean, the economy is basically still the same. There's personal workshop for instant installs out of turn, and there's also daily cars, your standard economy package. Not much of a focus on events. There's no comet in here. The console, as you can clearly see, is a Dinosaurus. So knowing that whatever Hayley deck it is, I know that they want a few turns to themselves in the early game to set up. Look at how few credits he's on. He definitely cannot afford to run my remotes, because even if he hits a P.A.D campaign, he can't trash it. He's just going to take a lot of tempo hit. So I'm going to take advantage of this scoring window. If I find an Astro Script or even a build, I'm going to lay it on my remote and score it whenever I get the chance. Right now, the most important thing to do right here is just to propagate those remotes to really increase the threat of insta flatline. So once you get to a critical mass of face down remotes, what happens is that the runner really cannot afford to run them unless they vamp you down or drain all your credits, because, as I said, or if they have a plus feed, because yeah, they'll just flatline if they hit a snare and there are enough DRTs on the board. So as you saw just now, I did find a build and I'm playing it down immediately. I'm fairly confident he will not run it. So looking at how passively he's playing right now, he's just digging for cards and he can't find his money. He finally got an ESOPs, so that's good for him. So I can actually afford to not score the build right now. The chance of him hitting that build out of all my remotes is very, very low. So I don't really care at this point. Now what I'm trying to maintain is 3 cards in my hand at all times. This is a deliberate choice. I could just install 1 marked accounts every turn and maybe install the toll booth from my hand, but yeah, the toll booth should be installed. But anyway, the important point here is I'm trying to keep my hand at 3 cards, so in the event he decides to throw a legwork on me, I have a snare in my hand. I know that he'll hit it with 100% chance. I'm going to res all my DRTs and he'll get a lot of damage on him. So that is the plan. Alright, he finds his imp with a test run and he proceeds to begin trashing my economy. But wait, he's not done yet. After the second click of running and trashing my marked accounts, what he does is to scavenge the imp, so it will stay on the board, and he gets another free trash with the imp. Ouch. Yep, I wish I had a Cyberdex trial at this point. I do have a couple in my deck to deal with Clot, but unfortunately, I didn't draw any just yet, so I'm not able to stop his imp. And that's very awful, because trashing my asset economy is a boo-boo, a big boo-boo. I definitely need my asset economy to fire off, and even if they get trashed, I need to make sure that the runner suffers a huge credit setback. Unfortunately, that's not the case. He trashed 13 credits worth of assets for a 2-cost imp. That is ridiculous. So that basically lost me a lot of tempo. I'm still going to res this P.A.D campaign because imp is on 0 virus counters, and I immediately score my first build because I'm afraid that he'll somehow get his imp back, as you see, with the clone chip, installing a mimic and getting a clone chip. Yep. He's going to get his imp back, and he's going to run and trash all my assets again. So I need to get this build out before he begins checking all my remotes. And you can be very sure he'll start sweeping my remotes. He's still on his first click, even though his board suddenly propagated with lots of programs. Now here he runs my HQ. It's not a legwork run, so I do not rest the DRT. The chances of him hitting the snare is not that high. I'm actually hoping he does not hit the snare. I want the snare to be a surprise. He hits the toll booth instead, and this is why I should have installed the toll booth, because he instead trashes it, which is awful for me. Now he's getting sucker tokens, which I do not like. This nullifies some of my ice. Alright, so I'm going to install an asset and protect HQ with a pop-up window. This will be great if he attempts to place more pressure on my HQ. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to get rid of cards from HQ, so if he does run HQ, I can be certain that he will hit the snare. I do not want to install the snare because it seems like he's placing more HQ pressure than remote pressure. Now he's finally going to contest my remotes. He first hits a blacklist. We'll see what he does with that. He decides to trash it manually with 3 credits because he wants to save the imp counter to trash my pad. That's a good choice. He knows he needs the blacklist. So here, seeing that he's now contesting my face down remotes, I need to get the build out. So I score my second build. I really wish those were Astro scripts, but I haven't drawn a single Doge pilot program yet, so we'll just have to live with what we have right now. Now the rest of my board is clear. The rest are all assets, including 1 DRT. Alright, so he re-scavenges the imp. This is really annoying. That's the second time he's doing that. Plus 1 clone chip. He's getting lots and lots of imp tokens. It's really paying off big time. It saved him at least 15 credits by this point. Now he runs my hand. He has a 1 in 3 shot of dying outright because he's running with 3 cards, so I immediately jump on the opportunity. I res the DRT and I hoping beyond hope that he hits my snare, but no, he hits my other copy of Toll Booth, trashes Toll Booth, and goes to trash the DRT. Unfortunate, I could have killed him right there. Well, he knows that now I have a snare in my hand, that's why I did that. Well, very unfortunate. I really wanted to snipe him right there, and that would have won me the game outright. Assuming he's not running, I've had worse, of course. So, 1 draw, 2, I find the Astro script, immediately installing it, and this is a very good time to install the Astro script because he should suspect that I had a snare in hand, which is why I res the DRT. So hopefully he'll respect that and not run my Astro script. If I can score this Astro script, I'm more or less guaranteed victory, so long as clock does not hit the table. So he installs a bunch of stuff and first click runs my Astro. Well, bad luck. I tried to take advantage of runner psychology and it failed right there. If I were the runner, I wouldn't have run that remote because it really telegraphs a snare. But well, he outmind gamed me, and as a result, he's now on the board with 2 points. Very tense game. It's going to be very hard for me to pull back right here. I have a couple of diversified portfolios in my deck that are my main source of economy once I get the assets rolling, but thanks to his imp, he's completely denying me of all my assets. As a direct result, my diversified portfolios will be completely useless, and I won't be able to sneak out any more 3-2 agendas on the table, which is quite annoying because that's basically my only way to score out other than using Sensen City Grid. So I do have a Sensen Grid on the table, which I cannot use yet, because firstly, he has a clone chip, which threatens Clot, and secondly, because he is probably going to trash it with 16 credits. Now, there is no Clot in the heap just yet, but you have to respect the fact that Hayley might be holding a Clot in her hand, and she can install that out of turn by using a clone chip. But instead, she uses the clone chip here to bring in the imp, which she then uses to imp my Sensen away. She also trashes my DRT. So now I'm left with quite a few agendas in my hand, and no way to score them. Installing the Astro right here is asking for it to be stolen. So I can't do anything about that. I draw into my diversified portfolio, again, can't do anything about that. And then I install my Astro script. He has 2 cards in hand. Hopefully, he will draw up and get money instead of running. But this really looks like I'm trying to sneak out an agenda. And yes, again, he runs my Astro first thing. If he hit my snare first, things might be different, but instead he does hit the Astro. At least he decides to check my snare, which brings him down to 0 cards. Alright. So he loses his Aesop's, SMC, and Artman. Alright. And he clears the tag with his last turn. Very important. He has no more tags left. So, he's on 0 cards. I need to try to score an agenda right now. I have a snare in hand. I can threaten the worst case scenario. I'm going to do so. I install the snare, the Cyberdex Virus Suite, and the View. He cannot run. He has to respect my snare. And since I'm on exactly 4 credits, I can threaten the snare. So he has to draw 3 times before running. And will he run? No. He draws another card to go up to 4 cards to put him in a good board state for the next turn, which gives me the breathing room to score my 6th agenda point. Very important here. So now basically I have a row of views in my score pile, and here's a row of Astro Scripts. One more agenda. The good news is I do have 2 breaking news in my deck. If I can find one, and he has no clone chips or SMCs out, I will win. Unfortunately, scoring the view costs me all my credits, which means I cannot trigger the snare. So that is going to the trash, but I guess it has served its purpose, which is to deter the runner from running. As I said, they have to respect the fact that they might get hit by net damage. If he had a tutor out on the board, he could have tutored for a Deus Ex and ran safely. But, well, not really. He still has to respect, yeah, he could have run safely, but he did not. So that was a huge thing in my favor. Him not having enough recursion to bring out Deus Ex because he spent all his recursion on the imp. But then again, that paid off very well for him because it completely nullifies my money and my diversified portfolio. This is a nightmare for me. I need to click for credits now. That's not good. In the meantime, he spends yet another tutor to bring out a Parasite, which destroys my pop-up window. So now he gets a free run on HQ. What does he see here? It's a Jackson Howard. My last Jackson Howard is gone. I draw into a breaking news. If I can score this, I win. So I'm just going to click for 3 credits at this point. What I could have done was to install the Eli or the Raven on HQ, and I really think I should have done that. Should have deterred him from running my central. Instead, I prefer to just take credits so that, to pad my card density in my HQ. Unfortunately, that didn't pay off, and awfully enough, he stole that breaking news from me. There's still one more in my deck, but that really hurt me to see that breaking news go. Alright, so I'm going to install the last snare, the very last snare in my deck, and click for credits. Hopefully this will slow him down if he decides to run it. Very suspicious face down card. He has to run it because he has to respect the fact that it could be a Sand. So he has to run it sooner or later, and I will trigger it. He does run, and he gets snared. It hits his Dinosaurus, Cerberus Lady, and York. Wow, that's a very big pool. Because he spends so much recursion on his imps, this is his last piece of recursion, that clone chip there. He spent the rest of his scavengers and clone chips on imps. So he was relying on being able to install his Code Gate and Barrier Breaker, but being hit by the snare, he couldn't. So what happens here is he's forced to use his last clone chip to salvage his dog, which gives me the opportunity to take credits, and I sneakily discard the N.E.A.P.A.D into Archives because there's only one face down card in Archives. And yep, as I expected, he began to hammer hit R&D. What he didn't know was that while he was busy salvaging his dog, I actually found my second copy of Breaking News. So if he does not run my hand, I win. Yep, he runs R&D and does not find any winning agendas. Thankfully, there are only 2 of them left in the deck, I believe. Or 3 of them. Doesn't matter. I find the final breaking news and win in the nick of time. Very, very close shave right there. That game could have gone either way. If I did not find that breaking news, I think that would have been a sure loss because I wasn't able to lock him out of R&D. I could tax his dog somewhat, but scoring that final breaking news would have been really hard given I have to keep it in hand for 1 turn. along with the N.E.A.P.D that would have won him the game as well. So clearly my opponent was playing a denial-style Shaper deck against me, which I didn't see coming. That really, really hurt, having all my assets trashed. And you also saw the Crescentus that was on his board for the longest time, that turned out to be rather useless, given that I installed a grand total of 2 pieces of ice throughout the entire game. So useless that he ended up selling it to Aesop's pawn shop. I think he made the right call by using most of his recursion on imps, because he didn't really need many breakers to deal with my central servers anyway. What was his biggest mistake was allowing me the breeding room, that very key turn to score the build. It's almost akin to ending your turn on 0 cards versus Cambridge Jinteki PE. You are just asking for it. The Corp will have a very good time installing all their House of Knives and making sure that you cannot run, because even if you steal an agenda, you have to pay that net damage toll. Same thing, he has to respect my snares, so he couldn't run that turn, which allowed me to score the agenda that brought me to match point. Also helps that because he spent all his tutors on imps, there were no tutors on the board for him to threaten plot, so I was able to safely fast advance that final breaking news for the win. These are little things to keep in mind when you are playing a Shaper against fast advance. Thanks for watching.
N.E.A.R.P.A.D